It's now official. We will have split government for the next 2 years, with Democrats retaining at least 50 seats, and Republicans will have a slim majority in the House. We'll talk about that, what that looks like, and what we think it ought to look like, plus the aging president and the new season of hate in America. It's all ahead on our Thanksgiving week edition of Dale Carter's America.
From the heart of flyover country, he's not on the far right, and he's certainly not on the far left. Like you, he's somewhere in the middle. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, hello again. With Kurt Wheeler, I'm Dale Carter, and this is Dale Carter's America, which you can get pretty much everywhere you get podcasts. In fact, everywhere you get podcasts, right, Kurt?
That's right, yeah. And, if you're watching this on video, either on YouTube or Rumble, that's the primary place that we would recommend watching it, because we have all video clips and articles and things like that you can check out. If not, then we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get it. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well.
All right. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm rocking the red, white, and blue of my alma mater, University of Southern Indiana. I got to go back and see the new arena and watch them play in Division I now, which is really exciting for that campus. They're playing St. Bonaventure. Do you know about them, the Bonnies?
No clue.
I guess that's they're
no
playing
idea
in some tournament somewhere. But they started playing Mizzou. That was their first game, and they almost beat Mizzou. It was like 97-92 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
They played Notre Dame really close. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yes.
So for my Division II school to make that big jump to D1, I'm all excited about that. Plus, I got to hang with my grandkids over the weekend. And as you know, Kurt, we have a new puppy at Casa del Carter.
Yeah.
Not exactly a pit bull. Are we talking about that today? I didn't see that on the notes.
No, we can. We can
All
talk
right,
about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, heck, we can talk about it right here. But he's a little Sheltie, and he was born August 8th, and he's got razor teeth. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but he got me there. He got me there. This hand is now healed, where he got me on that hand as well. He's a puppy, and he's got little sharp teeth.
Yeah, puppies have very sharp teeth, and they, are teething or whatever puppies do.
But he's not a pit bull.
Right.
And eventually he's going to get to be about 30 pounds, and if I could, Kurt, I could take him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm never going to have a dog at my house that if it came to it, I can't take him.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the breed. I mean, I want a German Shepherd, and they're massive and maybe the most powerful dogs ever, but they're not pit bulls, so... But yeah, I like big dogs. I like German Shepherds, Great Danes, Huskies, things like that.
Man, they crap big, though.
Yeah.
And you got to clean all that up, right?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Little dogs crap little. And, within your own yard, actually, I think it's good for the yard. It's like a little fertilizer for the yard. Just crap there, crap there, crap there.
I would take a smaller dog, but not like a small dog, not like a Chihuahua or like a little yappy thing. People carry them around like that. No.
That's not me either.
No.
I think my Shelties are a good medium-sized breed.
Yeah.
Very smart dogs, easy to train and all that. So
yeah, they're good dogs.
Harry is our new dog, Baby Harry, as we're calling him. So you've got your hair on fire about pit bulls. Before we jump into the real meat of the podcast today, let's go ahead and get that out of the way here. You got your hair on fire about pit bulls. Go.
Go. Well, I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him yet, but I have a neighbor that their dog keeps getting out, and the dog has threatened me coming to work, and now threatened my wife, where she had to run into her car because the dog was like coming at her.
Crazy.
And was coming at me as well, and then driving away, getting into everyone's trash and things like this. And it just, it's something I've known for a while and have been thinking about for a while, but it's just something that I think we need to address as a society. The fact that there is a very disproportionate number of attacks and problems being caused by pit bulls. And, I made a comment or made a post to our Facebook page, and all of the
got a lot of replies.
The pit bull apologists ladies came out and said, "Well, my dog is an angel." It's like, yeah, but you're missing the point.
Yeah.
and
Did you call the police?
No, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but maybe I will.
Control. I mean, if you've got something like that, you definitely need to keep it, on a leash or behind a fence or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, and this is where the whole conversation kind of goes, is like, yeah, of course that the owner matters, right? Like you can train any dog, you can You can make sure it's leashed or inside or whatever so it doesn't bother people. But, there are differences in dog breeds genetically. They're genetically bred to do certain things, and to have certain characteristics. And pit bulls are bred to be aggressive, to basically attack. They're
Right.
bred to be fighting animals, and
Yeah.
that's not good. I mean, you certainly don't want to have them around your kids, but even in just neighborhoods, I've lived in pretty rough areas of Kansas City, not the roughest areas, but and I've been to many of the very nice areas in Kansas City. And one of the differences of many that is very noticeable is that in the rough areas, there's pit bulls everywhere. I mean, they're loose, they get out, they're strays, I'm riding my bike, they're chasing me on my bike, trying to bite my ankles, and it's just, something has to be done about it.
Well, you know me, I'm a big believer in your rights end where mine begin. And, if that pit bull is coming at you, I mean, you take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the other thing that kind of came out of the post too. There was a few people on there that, all women, make of that what you will, but that said something to the effect of, well, I like dogs more than people. And that to me is just inexcusable.
Well, let me tell you what happened, when we were the all Christmas station on KFKF a while back. I have a comedy service that does a lot of song parodies, and you're familiar with the song Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there are several versions of that are parody versions, and one of them is Grandma Got Disfigured by Our Pit Bull. Right. Okay. And I've played it for years, right? Well, all of a sudden we're the all Christmas station. You talk about women only reacting to that thing.
Right.
So I played that. And it was like the end of the world as we know it. And apparently they've got a huge national lobby, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because it shut down our switchboard. You'll have to ask Tracy about that. She still has nightmares from it. We actually put a recorded message on the switchboard. And this is something I didn't even think about. It's like, okay, it's another grandma song. This one's Grandma Got Disfigured by Our Pit Bull. And they went crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that people care more about dogs than they do about humans in some cases.
But you come in my yard, and it's a dog that's going to do harm to my dog or a kid or a grandkid. I'm going to take care of business. And if you don't like it, don't get the damn dog.
Right.
Keep it out of my damn yard.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was one thing I was thinking about too, is I'm a renter, not an owner. So, that might be a little bit of a different calculation, but certainly the end of a gun might be involved.
Time to move.
Well, it's not that simple, but yeah.
All right, our podcast is brought to you by our good friend Bob Watson, Blue Springs, local State Farm agent for 5 decades. We love Bob. He's not only a believer in the podcast, a sponsor of the podcast, but he's actually going out and he's like part of our sales team. He's like telling his friends, you got to advertise on this podcast because these guys have it going on here. And this is the ground floor. They want to get it on the ground floor. So Bob's a smart guy, too. 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. He's taken care of me for 27 years. In fact, I've got a call. I'm not going to do it yet, but I'm thinking I'm in the market for a new car.
Oh boy,
I've had new car fever.
I thought you put it off.
I put it off, and then it's like, now I got it again. I've done a lot of research. I think I know what I'm going to get. So I got to call Bob's office and find out what the quote is on that.
You're going to get an EV, right?
Where's the even? We've talked about that. I mean, it's like everything Biden says. It's like, well, that's settled science. That's everything's been debunked. I have a lot of questions about it. Don't you?
Yeah. Sorry, Bob. I interrupted your ad read there.
816-229-7878. If you want an electric car, an EV, Bob will get you a surprisingly great rate on that for insurance.
There you go.
It won't be me though. And I appreciate Bob taking care of me in the insurance business there for the entire time I've lived in Blue Springs. But again, he'll take care of you on both sides of the state line, and it would be interesting to get his take on pit bulls, especially since he also insures my property. If a pit bull gets into my yard and I kill the damn thing, am I liable in any way? I don't know. Maybe Bob has an answer for that.
Yeah.
And he might give
I would
you
like
that
to know
answer.
that as well, actually.
What if you're a renter and you've got renter's insurance? And
Unrelated.
you've killed the pit bull.
Totally unrelated.
816-229-7878. That's our friend Bob Watson. And again, I don't want to get hate calls on pit bulls again. I've been down this road before. Kurt has not. I don't want to get hate calls on it. But if your pit bull comes into my yard and wreaks havoc, I will kill your pit bull.
Yeah, well, direct all of your hate. I was the one that posted it. I'll take full responsibility for the post. So, yeah, direct all your hate there in the Facebook post.
On a much lighter note, Jim Dingman at Funhouse Pizza is also a friend of the program here at Dale Carter's America. He's got 2 awesome locations, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Anytime we take this show on the road, it's going to be at Funhouse Pizza because it's so much fun. They've got great pizza. Jim Dingman, the guy who owns the place, a fantastic American. Again, big believer in what we're doing here on the podcast. A Marine. Thank you for your service to this great country. And a guy who wants to put your kids to work. So you got a slacker living in your basement, sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, playing video games. You need to reach out to Jim Dingman at Funhouse Pizza, and he'll put them to work.
Yep. And he's giving out Chiefs tickets, too. So there you go.
We love Jim Dingman, and we love Funhouse Pizza. Thank you so much for being involved in the podcast. In the news department, this is not really news, but it falls under this day in history. It was 59 years ago today, as we record this, that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. LBJ became the president. The implications on our American history, Kurt, are huge.
Yeah.
Just absolutely huge. Think about this. At the time JFK was assassinated, we were dallying around here a little bit in an area of Southeast Asia that nobody had ever heard about, called Vietnam, where we'd sent some advisors over to help them. The French had been involved there, kind of like we were in Afghanistan and the Russians were in Afghanistan, and the French finally got out. They were like, oh, we're done. We can't do anything over here. So we got sucked into that void, and when LBJ became president, it became a full-blown war. And we didn't get out of it until the 70s when Nixon finally got us out of it. But, LBJ came out of that World War II era where he's like, we've never lost a war. We're not going to lose a war on my watch. Let's just keep escalating and escalating and escalating. And then Nixon got there with a plan to end the war, and he kept escalating.
Right.
Until we finally got out of Vietnam. And what did we gain by being in Vietnam? We lost over 50,000 American soldiers. Is what we lost. What did we gain? What do you think we gained? Anything?
No, not really. I mean, of course, hindsight's 2020. We look at history through, perfect hindsight. But yeah, I mean, I think a big part of this whole modern push within both parties, and certainly more recently within the Republican Party, of like being anti-war and getting out of Iraq and Afghanistan and not entering new wars. A big part of that probably has to do with Vietnam, because we see the course of history, what happened there, how many people we lost, the fact that some would say we pulled out prematurely, but whether you agree with that or not, I mean, we lost so many people, we essentially gained nothing from it. I mean, the country stayed divided, and that was that.
I remember going into the first Gulf War, George H.W. Bush, a student of history as well, and he and Colin Powell, they were adamant that we don't want another Vietnam. So he put the coalition together. We went in with brute strength. We got Iraq to get out of Kuwait, and then we got the hell out of there. I mean, that was the Vietnam effect.
Right.
And then after 9/11, we get into that quagmire in Afghanistan and the history on that. It's still being written, isn't it?
Yep.
Especially with the pullout, which we'll get to in a little bit. The other big implication of JFK being assassinated and LBJ taking over, JFK, if he ran today, would be a Republican. He had a massive tax cut. Okay, He believed in that. And then LBJ comes in, and the next thing you know, we've got the Great Society, which is government taking a role, because LBJ was kind of like, in a crass way, he was kind of the Joe Biden of his day. He was born and bred in the United States Senate. He came out of the Sam Rayburn School of government is here to do things for you. Right? Not, what can you do for yourself, as Kennedy said in his inaugural, what can government do for you? And we got the Great Society out of it, and I would argue that it decimated the black community, that it led to fatherless homes in the black community, which we're still feeling the ramifications of that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you're right about your analysis on that, and it's just it was part of a long history in the 20th century of the government increasing its role in the private society, and he was certainly a big part of that.
Well, you know who his hero was? His hero was Franklin Roosevelt. And you talk about government overreach and where it began. If you trace it all the way back, it goes back to FDR, and LBJ thought he was the next FDR. And things got so bad that when he could have run for a second term in his own right in 1968, he just got out. He said, I'm not going to run again. This is terrible. You know, you had groups of protesters outside the White House. Hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? I mean, you know, it was just terrible, and he got out of there. So that happened this day in history, a turning point in American history with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Moving forward, I guess if he wants to, Donald Trump can get back on Twitter.
Yep, that's right.
So we'll see if he does it or not. I don't know if he's going to do it or not. And you talk about hair on fire. The left and the liberals, since Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, it's comical.
Yeah.
How
and
much?
Here you can see, if you're watching the video, the poll that Elon put out, the yeses got 51.8%, the noes got 48.2%. 15 million votes, over 15 million votes in the poll.
How many of those are real people versus bots?
That's a good question. And I think, I've seen some takes on this, that this was also like kind of a sideways way for Elon to get the bots out of the dark.
Yeah.
And that may have some ramifications as well. But then you brought up the question, Trump has Truth Social. Is he even going to come back on Twitter? He made a statement. Somebody asked him about it, and he kind of skirted the question. He said, well, we have Truth Social. This is great, blah, blah, blah. So I just like this meme, too, that Elon posted. He said, and lead us not into temptation. And if you're not watching, it's a painting, I suppose, with a lady with her skirt up and the Twitter logo, and then Donald Trump praying that he can resist the temptation of going back on Twitter. So yeah. I found that very hilarious.
Next to the news, Buffalo gets 77 inches of snow. 77 inches of snow in November. Global warming, climate change, the weather, or an aging planet. Take your pick. It's one of those.
I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm just going to play some clips. This was somebody opening their garage.
Oh my gosh, that's just terrible. And I'm going to reiterate the fact that when I retire, and that day is getting closer by the day, I'm about 9 years out, but I want to go somewhere it's never cold and it never snows.
Right.
And I never want to look out my door and see that.
Yeah.
Unless it's a screensaver on my computer.
I remember being, in school in Pennsylvania near Philadelphia, and like a snow day was like the most exciting thing ever. And now as an adult, it's like, oh God, snow.
Welcome to adulthood.
Yeah.
When you have kids, it'll be like, oh God, a snow day.
I have to deal with my kids for another day.
See? Yeah, you just thought it was your parents. Wait till you have kids on your own. But I want to get back to this whole thing of because the left, anytime we have a big snowstorm or something like that, that's just the weather. That's not the climate. That's the weather. But anytime you have a really hot day in the summer, it's like global warming, we're all going to die, get an EV or we're all going to die.
Right.
And I heard a guy on a talk show, and he was like, in my job, I work outside a whole lot, so I've been following this. And I am noticing that I'm not getting to work outside as much, and I think it's all about climate change. And the host said, and how much recorded weather do we have?
Right.
I don't know, 140 years? Maybe 200 if you really want to stretch it. And the guy goes, how old do you think this planet is? I don't know. Well, here's the number for you. It is 5 billion years old. Mm-hmm. It's in a constant state of flux. And who are we, Kurt, to say that we can make this the Goldilocks planet, that it's always going to be 72 degrees for the high temperature? You like San Diego? Because San Diego is quite a bit like that. Yeah. And I kind of like that. But, who are we? It's just arrogant on our part to say, number one, that we're causing it. Which are we? I don't know. Is the planet getting warmer? What if we do such a great job that we send it into an ice age and we make it really cold? The planet is constantly evolving. You get my point, right?
Yeah.
The planet's not going to go anywhere. This planet will be here for another 5 billion years. Will humans be part of that equation? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah,
There's no guarantee.
I think it's one thing to explore the science of the issue and see what we can find out, see what effect humans have on the changing climate or not, and be honest about it, and then come to honest solutions. But that's just not what's happening.
Not at all.
And this is being used as a political weapon to punish people, and it's being used as a scare tactic to get people to vote for Democrats. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And you have to think that these people don't really believe what they're preaching themselves, because you have people like Al Gore who has this new program that he's coming out with for tracking people's carbon emissions and finding the biggest carbon emitters in our society, who himself is one of the biggest carbon emitters in our society, flying private jets all over the world, has a giant house, that he spends like 40 times the average amount, per household on energy to heat his pool. You have all these global elites, and elite politicians in America like Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, and others buying beachfront property.
Right.
If the oceans are rising and everything's going to be underwater, why are you buying beachfront property? So these are all questions that should discredit the
Well, and you're not allowed to ask questions, because if you ask questions, you're a global warming, climate change denier.
Yeah, you're some kind of denier.
You're some guy. They're always talking about deniers out there. Yet some of them are. But
Am I a pit bull denier?
Yeah. You're kind of pissed about the pit bull, and I get that. I get that. I mean, I had a house in Indiana when my kids were really little, and we had like Dobermans on one side of us and pit bulls on the other side. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget looking out at the swing set, and my son Matt, he's now 33. I think he was probably 2 or 3 at that time, and he's in the baby swing in the swing set. And I look out, and the pit bull has dug its way under my fence and is in the backyard.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a sobering moment. So I get exactly where you're coming from on that, but you're not a denier. You're just kind of pissed about the whole thing. Speaking of aging, Joe Biden is now 80 years old. He turned 80 on Sunday, right? Had a little applesauce with his cake and all that.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, that's true. Reagan was thought to be old, right?
Yep.
Reagan was 69 years old when he was elected, and after 2 terms had not yet turned 78 when he left the White House. And you may remember how that kind of ended, that it didn't end well. The last year, it's kind of like he's going downhill.
The last year of Reagan was like the first 2 years of Biden.
Exactly. But he says he's going to run in 24. He'll be 82. You got to wonder what that looks like. He was at the White House pardoning the turkeys. If we know nothing else about Joe Biden, we know he loves ice cream.
They can go wherever they want. Of course, chocolate is my favorite. Chocolate is my favorite ice cream. So we could have named them Chips and Science. But anyway, good name as well.
What the hell does that mean? Chips and Science.
I think he was probably talking about, the stuff he's done or whatever, and he's making a joke. But yeah, the ice cream thing, I just thought was funny.
Well, getting back to science, I mean, when you question him at all, when you're allowed to question him, and I'll bet the barbs are coming. I think the gloves are going to be off, because the media has been exposed for the fraud that they are, and they don't like that, so they're going to come fighting back. He just looks confused when people ask him questions about stuff like that, and he's like, that's settled science.
He looks confused all the time. That is his nature.
Been debunked.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll continue to follow Joey B, as he's not exactly sure where he is on any given day. By the way, he's going to have vacation, or he's going to have Thanksgiving with a billionaire. I saw this right before I came in here. He and his family are going to Nantucket for the Thanksgiving holiday weekend.
Oh, that must be nice.
The Bidens have been on Nantucket almost every year since 1975. Now, they don't have a property on Nantucket, but last year they stayed at the home of billionaire David Rubenstein.
Don't know who that is.
Or Stein. Steen or Stein.
I mean, as far as him being old, I mean, obviously he's very old. I think the bigger problem is that he clearly has dementia. Like the age thing in itself is an issue. I mean, once you get to a certain age, you start having more health problems. But if somebody's old and they are perfectly capable and perfectly, with it, then I don't necessarily see a problem with that. But
it's a good point. I think, a good example of that was the Queen of England. I mean, she lived well into her 90s, and she was still sharp as a tack.
The Queen of England is a great example. And, Donald Trump, as far as we can tell, still has his mental faculties with him too. So, but we'll see. I mean, he's going to be old too. So we're going to have potentially have two decrepit old men yelling at each other on stage. It's going to be awesome.
Won't that be fun? Pop some popcorn. Unless, of course, it is Ron DeSantis. You led me right into that. And how stupid are the people at MSNBC? You can't even really quantify it. Ron DeSantis won big in Florida. He won by 20 points, the governor's race in Florida. Yet the folks at MSNBC think there's something sinister involved. Play the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
No, I think that's right, and I think it's incredibly dangerous. I want to ask you, is Ron DeSantis Trump 2.0? And a lot of people are asking this question, but one of the things that has been underreported is the fact that Ron DeSantis, yes, he won, but he highly gerrymandered the state of Florida. And oftentimes people say, well, but that was, he was a statewide office. But gerrymandering has the impact of chilling potential voters for the opposite side, of going out and voting. There's no way that he could gerrymander himself across 50 states. So what would be his pathway?
Oh, my God. My head is about to explode. Where do we start with this? First of all, Ron DeSantis did not gerrymander anything. When the census is taken every 10 years, the state houses of the 50 states decide what their congressional map is going to look like. Now, do Republican-leaning states try and get more Republican seats in the House? Of course they do. Do Democrat-leaning states try and get more Democrats in the House? Of course they do. It has nothing to do with a statewide election. And I don't even know the question to ask here. He would have nothing to do with gerrymandering the entire country, and the country will not be gerrymandered again for another 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a guest on that show, I would just stop her and say, what is gerrymandering? Like, give me a definition. Explain this to me, because I don't think she'd be able to
it has a chilling effect on voting. We just went through a midterm where I think we had record voting for a midterm, did we not?
Certainly in Florida. I mean, there was tons of turnout in Florida.
My district was moved. I was in the 6th district forever voting for Sam Graves. They moved me to the 4th. I mean, I didn't go, my God, I've been gerrymandered out of the 6th district. I don't think I'm going to vote.
Yeah, right.
Do you think people do that?
It didn't have a chilling effect on your outlook.
Oh, my God. The stupidity. Yeah. The stupidity.
Well, it's MSNBC. What do you expect?
And I know that I double their audience every time I go over there and watch what they're doing, but, is what it is. Okay, shall we talk about our other big client here on Dale Carter's America? Royal Roofing and Solar. Great folks. Austin Watterson. First of all, you got to have a roof over your head, right? You own a house, you got to have a roof. You need a new roof. They're going to put a great roof on your house. They're not the fly-by-night roofers out there. They're in Cass County. They stand behind their work, and you can find them. I did a roof one time in my house, and it was like one of those roving things. They came and they said, oh, you've got hail damage. And they went up there, they redid the roof, they dropped a hatchet through my roof and did a lot of damage to my second floor. And then when I went to look for them, I couldn't find them. You're going to find Austin Watterson, and they're going to do great quality work, whether it's roofing or, if you've got a project you've been putting off, they do that as well around the house. And then they've gotten into the solar world, and it's not the political thing. It's not, hey, it's settled science. You can't ask any questions. You can ask a lot of questions. Austin will answer all of your questions, including what will solar do for your house. May not work for your house, but if it does, and you can own your utilities rather than rent them from Evergy or the gas company, it's probably smart. So call Austin Watterson and his crew at Royal Roofing and Solar and at least have a sit down with these folks and have the conversation at 816-540-7057.
Good stuff.
He's an awesome guy, truly great friend of the program. Cass County guy. Will definitely take care of you. Oh, I missed one. On the news. See, it broke the page here. Disney apparently is tired of being broke, right? Woke equals broke. So they are bringing back a name from the past, Bob Iger, to run the Mouse House, and he is already making some changes, Kurt.
Yep.
Immediate changes. Let's see, what's he done? Head of Media and Entertainment, Kareem Daniel, you're out. In the memo to the media and the entertainment division, Iger said there will be a new structure that puts more decision-making back in the hands of our creative teams and rationalizes costs. I read that to say, we're not going to spend any more money on your woke projects that aren't making us any money.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are making that assumption, and maybe that's true. But I mean, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't said anything to that effect. But I mean, why else? Why would they fire this guy, this old guy? Chapek. So it's interesting. I mean,
clearly they got problems.
Yeah. Clearly they have problems, and there was the whole thing with Florida and Disney going at it, and a lot of Disney content that people were not happy with for various reasons, political and not political. But maybe they were taking too much of a hit from that. Who knows?
If I was a stockholder of Disney, which I used to be, I'd be very happy about Bob Iger coming back, and he's probably a bridge to the next generation, but it's a sign at Disney that they see that there's a problem, and they're going to do something about it. America had a problem, and that was, all this crap that was coming out of D.C., the midterms, a reflection on Joe Biden. Was it a red wave? No, we've already talked about the fact that it was not necessarily a red wave. We're still going to be dealing with the Democrats controlling the Senate. But now the House has a small majority of Republicans. And look what the Democrats were able to do, Kurt, with a 50-50 Senate and a very small majority of Democrats and a president in the White House. How much crap did they jam down our throats? How much spending did they jam down our throats? How did they wreck this economy with record inflation? Mm-hmm. They did a lot with a very small majority.
Yeah, well, part of the problem, too, is that, the Republican majority in the House and the 49 Republicans in the Senate are not unified, very much so. And you're going to have a lot of, especially in the Senate, but in the House too, because, we only have the House by 3 seats, 4 seats, something like that.
Right.
So you have weak Republicans that are going to cross the aisle and vote with Democrats on a lot of these social issues and, a lot of these spending bills, funding for Ukraine, things like that, they shouldn't be, and so that's going to have an effect too. No Democrats are going to turn and vote for truly conservative legislation, but we have unfortunately weak Republicans that are going to.
Well, let's be realistic about this. What can the Republican House do? We'll get to what they can't do, but what can they do? They can stop the spend. They control the purse strings of Washington, D.C., and they can stop the spend. Will they stop the spend?
I think that's the more important question.
That's the bigger question. And, will they block legislation coming out of Joe Biden? What they can't do is just a slim majority in the House with Democrats controlling the Senate and a Democrat president in the White House. Let's not get into fantasy world. They're not going to throw up a bunch of conservative bills that the Senate's going to pass and the president's going to sign. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So why even waste time? They've got 2 years in the majority to hopefully get to a Republican president, hopefully get to a Republican Senate. But in those 2 years, what can they do? They can stop the spend. They can just say no. They can also do investigations, and they're going to do that. My thing on that is, don't do so many because, after everything that we've been through with all these, the January 6th committee and all this and that, target it. Get something out of it. Mm-hmm. Let's go somewhere where there can be something at the end of the rainbow and not just, oh, yeah, you did it, so now we're going to do it.
Right.
And it doesn't go anywhere.
Right. A lot of it is just political theater, and that comes from both sides, from Democrats and Republicans. But the problem is, for Republicans, maybe they don't want to do political theater. Maybe they want to actually have a result, like investigating Fauci for funding gain-of-function research in China, or investigating the Hunter Biden laptop, or investigating, voter issues in Maricopa County or things like this.
There's a lot. There's
Yeah.
the border, there's fentanyl, there's Afghanistan, there's crime.
Yeah. And they can start all of these investigations, but not only do they not have the Senate or the president, but they don't have the mainstream institutions behind them. They're going to be getting smeared the entire time, and it's going to be very difficult for them to get anything out of it. So,
Well, one thing they do have, they've got the gavel, or they'll have it next month, or I keep thinking it's December. It's still November. But in January, Kevin McCarthy is going to get the gavel. He's going to be Speaker of the House. And the Speaker of the House has a lot of power. And the first thing he said is, we made a promise that Swalwell, Omar, and Schiff are not going to be on committees. And he's keeping that promise, and they are screaming like stuck pigs. Never mind the fact that Nancy Pelosi crafted this January 6th committee, right? Put 2 Republicans on it. Both of them hate Donald Trump.
Right.
McCarthy had no say in it whatsoever. She's Speaker of the House. It's a very, very powerful role. And, he has every right to keep those people off. And he's putting reasons behind it. I think his reasons are sound. Swalwell, he's got that Chinese girlfriend or whatever, Fing Fing or Sing Sing or
Fang Fang.
Ding Dong or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the Austin Powers movies. Remember that? Austin Powers?
Yeah.
Those are funny movies.
Fook me and fook you.
That's it.
Yeah.
I want to go watch those again just to see that. So Swalwell's got Fang Fang. Omar, she is on the record as hating Israel. So why would we want her involved with our only Democratic ally in the Middle East? We wouldn't. And Adam Schiff is just a scum weasel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they're all very partisan hacks. They're not good for the country. So yeah, we should actually use the power that we're given. If we have the House majority, even if it's by 5 votes, even if it's by 1 vote, let's use it and get some of these people out of these positions of power.
Oh, and the guy who is like on the inside track to be the minority leader since Nancy Pelosi said, I don't want to be in leadership anymore. Steny Hoyer, who's 130, he doesn't want to be in leadership anymore. So now it looks like the guy who is going to be the minority leader in the House when they reconvene in January is Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries. Denier is something that they say a lot on the left. I said it last week about one of the candidates, the governor's candidate out in Arizona. It's okay to be a denier if you're a Democrat. It's not okay to be a denier if you're a Republican. Hakeem Jeffries is a denier. He basically said that Donald Trump was what did he say? Not an illegitimate. That was it. Illegitimate president in 2016. That he didn't really win.
Yeah.
So,
well, lots of people have said that. I mean, we've been over it. Hillary Clinton said that.
I know, but this guy's going to be the minority leader of the House.
Yeah.
But he gets a pass.
Of course.
Yeah. By the way, apparently this Hunter Biden thing, which was debunked, the whole laptop and all that, Biden with a confused look, I mean, that's just debunked. I never talked to my son about any of his business dealings. And the big guy, I don't know what that is. Well, now apparently CBS figured out that the laptop thing might just be real.
Yeah. No,
and as Republicans take control of the House, Hunter Biden, the president's son, will be a target for investigations. And that means data from a laptop reported to belong to Biden could be crucial to the investigatory process. CBS News has obtained its data, not through a third party or political operative, but directly from the source who told us they provided it to the FBI under subpoena.
Yeah, well, there you go.
This will be the Democrats taking care of their own. Joe Biden is not going to be the nominee in 2024.
Yeah, and it's just so funny to me. I mean, the elephant in the room here is that CBS is acknowledging that the laptop is real, 2 years after we all knew that it was real, and 2 years after Facebook, Twitter, colluded with the FBI in order to suppress the story, before the 2020 election. We all knew that it was real. It came out that it was real very quickly, and now 2 years later, they're reluctantly admitting that it's real and that there's going to be investigations. And of course, it's after the midterm election. They're not going to do a story on it before the midterm election.
Of course not, because it hurts the Democrats. So as we go forward with a Republican Congress, and I read your post on the Facebook page yesterday that you're kind of down, maybe a little bit. Is that accurate?
Which post are you talking about?
Yeah, the one about Congress, and you just don't think that anything's going to change, and yada yada yada.
I'm skeptical. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm down. I mean, I feel the same as I did before the midterm election, which is that I don't think that 5 votes in the House is like what's going to save our country. You know, it's
stops Joe Biden, stops whatever this avalanche of crap is. It does
we'll see.
stop.
I mean, it might not even do that. I mean, we'll see, because look at all of the Republicans that voted for all of the stimulus money for COVID. Look at all the Republicans that have continued to vote for increased funding for Ukraine. Look at all the Republicans that are on board with the whole January 6th thing. And it's disheartening. So that's just the truth of it.
Well, I'm more of an optimistic guy. I'm more of a glass half full kind of a guy. What I don't want to see them do is impeachment. It would be a sideshow. Unless real criminal activity is proven. Now, they say that what's the definition of impeachment? Anything a majority of the House says is impeachable, right? And you got a couple of examples of that when they impeached Donald Trump twice. Right. It was ridiculous. And we made fun of them, right? Mm-hmm. You know, all the way down to the $5,000 pens that they used to sign the deal. And then, you know, all of Nancy Pelosi and her tribe walking the impeachment articles over to the Senate with great pomp and circumstance. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to see the Republicans do that. You know, because you need 2/3 in the Senate, and you're not going to get 2/3 in the Senate. So you made the point, let's don't do political theater.
Right.
That would be political theater. Now,
right.
You want to impeach Mayorkas for what he's not done on the border? I'm on board with that. And I think you might even get some Democrats in the Senate to cross over to get that guy's ass out of there.
Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, the whole political theater thing, it's an interesting conversation because there's kind of two sides to it. I mean, yeah, when I say you don't want to do political theater, what I mean by that is you don't want to do things just for the show. You don't want to have investigations or hearings or impeachments.
And impeachment would be just for show.
Yeah, or, you know, certainly broadly speaking, you don't want to just have an impeachment just to say that you had an impeachment, which is, in my opinion, what the Democrats did with Donald Trump. They didn't really have anything on him. They just did it because they didn't like the guy. But, you know, the other side of that is that there are things that, and I'm not necessarily saying that impeachment it falls within this, but there are certain things that are worthy of being investigated and are serious problems. But, you know, like you said, you know, you're not going to get 2/3 in the Senate. Do you do it anyways? And I think in some cases the answer is yes, because you want to get people on the record on these issues. You know, you want to get people on the record showing whether they want to hold like Fauci accountable for funding gain-of-function research, for example.
DOJ would be another place where I'd want to look. You know, is the Biden administration using the Department of Justice, specifically the IRS, to target people? To
target Donald Trump, as they've announced just a few days ago. You know, they're hiring a special counsel now to investigate their their chief political rival, which is just a sham. And so even in these cases, you know, even though you know it's not going to necessarily result in the desired result that you want, you still have to make a move to go after it because, you know, you want these people on the record having to vote for it and show where they stand on it. I think. Well,
it'll be interesting. We'll watch as it unfolds in January and then the next 2 years. And the presidential election is already off and running for 2024. There was a big deal over the weekend, some Jewish thing. I don't know what it was. It was a gathering for Israel or something like that. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know Nikki Haley was there and Ron DeSantis was there and Donald Trump gave them a video and all that. Mike Pompeo was there too. He's lost a lot of weight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he looks good. You know, I think he's going to run for president. There's a lot of folks on our side of the aisle, Kurt, who are going to run. It should be very interesting, and it's starting way too early, but start nonetheless. And it'd be interesting to see what happens on the Democrat side. You know, will all the younger Democrats like Gavin Newsom stay out of the way because they have the White House and he deserves the right to defend it? I don't know. We'll see.
I doubt it.
We shall see. That is to be determined. Hey, want to thank again Bob Watson, Blue Springs local State Farm agent for 5 decades. You can find his office, his palatial office, at 7th and Main in Blue Springs. You know, we met with Bob in Blue Springs before he came on board the podcast. We should have gone by the office. You would really be impressed.
Nice.
I mean, it's not quite at the level of the palatial studios here at Steel City Media in Westport, but Bob's got a pretty nice little office going there, and he'll meet with you there at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, or you can just call the office there. He's a fine staff, and they take care of folks with auto, home, life, commercial insurance. I know it's really cold right now, but when you get the old pontoon out of storage, he'll get boat insurance lined up for you as well. If you can insure it, Bob Watson and State Farm will take care of you. Surprisingly great rates. So as we come to the end of the year and you're reevaluating things like your homeowner's policy or your auto policy, Bob Watson's a guy you should give a shot to, because unlike these cut-rate insurance companies, they're real people.
Yeah.
They'll answer the phone when you call, and they'll deal with your problem. It's not somebody, and I've said this before, who English is a fourth language for at some call center in India. I mean, these are folks in our town, in Blue Springs, serving both Kansas and Missouri and taking care of you with all of your insurance needs. 816-229-7878. That's Bob Watson. And life insurance, especially in the big cities, that's kind of a dicey game these days, Kurt, because we have what I've kind of put this under the umbrella of a new season of hate. And you won't hear a lot about it on the mainstream media when it doesn't involve a gun, because it doesn't fit the narrative. They want to deal with the object, which is a gun, and not the issue that we've got a problem in this country of people killing people.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's things like, a hammer attack in San Francisco, to bring Paul Pelosi into it. Just in the news, I brought it in with me, there was a car that plowed into an Apple store in Massachusetts. That just happened yesterday. So somebody used their car as a murder weapon. We saw that in Wisconsin. Somebody used their car during a Christmas parade to mow down some people. You had a knife attack on a campus in Idaho. Are there guns being used in these things? Of course there are. University of Virginia campus, you had one football player kill 3 other football players. We had the deal over the weekend at an LGBTQ nightclub out in Colorado. That's where you're going to see the focus of the media, because those killings involve guns. And, of course, you get the bonus of the LGBTQ+++ community. That also gets you a lot of coverage in the left-leaning media because, that becomes a hate crime, which, I think you coined this early on in the podcast. Show me a love crime.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If you kill somebody, it's a hate crime.
Yeah, of course.
You get what? Some extra years because you happen to kill the right or the wrong people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes is the answer to that question.
So, the response of the left in any of these situations is we need better gun laws. Mm-hmm. Okay? Nobody's out there saying we need better hammer laws. We need to get rid of all the cars because people are using cars to attack. Mm-hmm. Nobody's saying we need to get rid of knives because knives have been used in an attack. So no matter what you do, you're always going to have bad people committing bad acts, and it's really hard to stop them before the fact.
Right. Yeah. And it's just, it's very sad, all this stuff that's happening. And to me, it's a symptom of a sick society more than anything. Why we should be looking into why are these people doing these things? What is ailing people so much? We have serious mental health problems. I mean, we have the common thread throughout much of these mass shootings, at least the publicized ones, is people on SSRIs and other, drugs for depression and things like that. What is the symptom that's leading to that? Because it's not the gun. I'm sorry, but it's not the gun. We've talked about this so many times, and it's just, kind of getting tired. But the gun is not the issue. I mean, guns are used to do all sorts of things, including defend people. More guns are used in defensive instances than in crimes every year by a vast majority. So that's clearly not the issue.
Well, and you point out that the Colorado suspect at that LGBTQ nightclub was previously arrested and the charges were dropped. Yeah. I mean, how many times do we talk about this? DAs and the turnstile of, oh, you killed somebody? Okay, well, we're just going to put you back out on the street.
Yeah, no, he was apparently, allegedly made a homemade bomb and was threatening people, and then also was arrested for kidnapping and related to that incident. So,
and that's a red flag in a state where they have red flag laws.
And that was first-degree felony kidnapping too. That wasn't, just some misdemeanor or misunderstanding or something like that. It was first-degree felony kidnapping, and the charges were dropped, and he was back out on the street. So, what are we going to do about that? And that's a very common thread in a lot of these situations as well.
Well, we have mental health issues on one side, and somebody really needs to be out front talking about that, taking it seriously. We're talking about it on this podcast. Maybe somebody will finally take that seriously. And then you've got just bad people out there who need to be locked up and put away.
Yeah. We have a people problem. We have a crime problem. We have a people problem, and we have a sick society. So what are we going to do about that? I mean, you can take guns away from law-abiding citizens, but it's not going to change crime.
Not a dime's worth of difference.
The criminals are still going to get the same guns. They're still going to use it to kill people. You're just ensuring that law-abiding citizens won't be able to defend themselves because the guns are already here, and they're not going anywhere. So what are we going to do about the root cause of these issues, the people problem that we have in this country? It's not going to be solved by government, most likely. I mean, they can do something to maybe curtail some of this, but we need to take a real hard, long look in the mirror and figure out what the hell's going on.
Well, when the Democrats talk about we need another gun law, we need this gun law, we need that gun law, we need Republicans out there stating exactly what you just stated. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a nutshell, that's the other side of the argument. And we need to get to a point in this country where it's not about, for instance, the Warnock-Walker Senate race, okay? That thing has devolved into Walker knocked up this woman over here, and he's got kids over here. Right. Warnock's going through a messy divorce. The Reverend's going through a messy divorce? I wonder about that. But he's got, custody issues over here. We got to get out of that crap. And it's like, what is the role of our government? What should it be doing? What should it not be doing? I mean, it seems like a boring argument. It's not quite as good for TV as, Herschel Walker's knocking up people left and right and Warnock's got, custody issues. It's not sexy like that. I wonder, Kurt, if I'm in Georgia, whether either one of those guys ought to be in the Senate. There's a lot of bad candidates out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So it needs to get back to the boring thing of, what's the role of government and where are we in that?
Yeah, and that's the thing that people just don't care about. I mean, we've been really infantilized as a society. You have people have the attention span of like a squirrel. They're just scrolling through TikTok all day. They only care about their favorite celebrities. They only care about, where they're going out with their friends for drinks and things like that. They don't care about the bigger issues because they don't have to. Their lives are largely taken care of for them. And they don't have to worry about the things that people had to worry about 50, 100 years ago.
Well,
we take it for granted.
There are some hot button issues, and you found out. I mean, you stuck your finger in the socket there talking about pit bulls. All of a sudden, it's like everybody cares about that. So at some point, somebody's going to have to care that we're $31 trillion in debt. Mm-hmm. And with inflation going where inflation's going, it may be boring to a lot of people, but as interest rates creep up and the percentage of the federal budget that has to go just to service the debt, that's going to be a massive number. And all of a sudden, government's not going to be able to do all those things for you.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The reckoning is coming. But good news is Republicans are going to be in the House. Split government is here. There are a lot of folks like me, Kurt, who like split government because it means theoretically that nothing gets done. Yeah. And I'm fine with that.
Right.
Yeah. So let's move on to the kicker here as we go into Thanksgiving. What are we thankful for? I think we did this last year. Anything new that you're thankful for? Pit bulls? No.
Well, I've gotten married since last
Congratulations.
So
how's that going?
It's going great.
Yeah?
It's going great. Seriously, no complaints. It's fantastic. It's been a blessing, and my wife is great. I'm very thankful to have her in my life. She takes great care of me, and she's a wonderful person. And
I have one of those too, by the way. It took me 3 tries to get it done, but
yeah, you better shoe that in too before we move on.
Yeah. I got in trouble last year, but I have one of those as well. She takes excellent care of me and my house and our dogs and her own kid and my kids when they come over and my grandkids when they come over. I mean, I came with a lot of family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but otherwise, I'm thankful for my health, for my family, for my career. I've had a very good year in terms of my career. Things are progressing in good ways, staying busy, that kind of thing. And so I'm very thankful for that. And I'm thankful to be on this podcast. I'm thankful for the opportunity to do this with you.
We're having a lot of fun when we're not arguing about shit. That's probably good. Thankful for my health as well, for my kids and my grandkids and their health as well. And I'm thankful, Kurt, to be living in the greatest country in the history of the world. Even when things are bad here, think about being somewhere else.
Yeah.
Where else would you want to be?
Can't think of anywhere.
I can't think of anywhere either. So this and I agree with President Biden on that. He made a similar statement. We agree that this is a great country. It's got some issues. We got things we got to hash out. But again, where else would you rather be? Favorite foods? I mean, we're in a situation with historically high inflation, and I saw this yesterday on TV. It just blew my mind that inflation has hit restaurants less than it's hit grocery stores. So you would be better off eating your Thanksgiving dinner out than preparing it at home.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. I mean, I think it's probably still more expensive to eat out than it is to cook at home. But certainly, if you're able to buy things in bulk or, grow your own food, or whatever. But yeah, it's a big problem. But as far as like favorite Thanksgiving foods, turkey is good, but I've never been like the biggest turkey guy. Like I eat it. I love the skin, the crispy skin parts of the turkey, but I like ham or steak, beef, pot roast maybe for turkey dinner. I like to switch things up. I've shot 2 deer in the past 2 weeks, so we're about to have a very full freezer of venison, so that'll be coming into the picture sometime soon.
I can't do that. Can't get my head around it. Like duck or turkey or anything like that. I just can't get my head around it. It's like I see Donald Duck. I see Bambi. It's like and don't shoot me down by saying, hey, what about Porky Pig? What about this nice cow over here? I remember being in Connecticut once. I was at an event at UConn in Storrs, Connecticut, and UConn is kind of an ag school. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they had a little rodeo arena going on, and I got a big old double cheeseburger, and I went up to the arena, and I'm getting ready to bite into my double cheeseburger, and I see this cow, and he's looking at me. It's like, am I eating your cousin here? I mean, what's going on here?
Probably, yeah.
And I lost my appetite. I mean, it's great for weight loss.
Oh, see, that stuff doesn't bother me at all. I'd look it right in the face, just
take a big bite. Yeah. What about green bean casserole?
Yeah, I'd rather just have green beans, to be honest.
See, when I was growing up,
I'm kind of picky about my vegetables. I like fresh green beans, not canned green beans. I like fresh broccoli, not frozen broccoli.
I don't eat broccoli at all. But, when I was a kid, that's something that we had every year at Thanksgiving, green bean casserole with those crunchy onion things on top. I love rolls and mashed potatoes and gravy.
Sweet potatoes?
No, not sweet potato. I think are there foods that are really only for Thanksgiving?
Cranberry.
Yeah.
Cranberry sauce. Yeah. Sweet potato is not really just for Thanksgiving, but it is a staple. I mean, turkey, stuffing, turkey, and certainly stuffing, I would say. Turkey, maybe, people eat turkey other times, obviously, but that's a big staple.
By the way, do you know something I found, and I don't have her name with me right now, but the woman who invented stovetop stuffing went to my high school.
Oh, there you go.
In Evansville, Indiana, of all places.
I like how that's like, it's like Kansas City. We have like 3 famous people from Kansas City. So like everyone's just like all about them all the time. It's like that one person that it got famous. It's Dale Carter and the stuffing lady.
Stovetop stuffing. And I'll give you one more since these things come in threes. Designer Halston went to my high school.
Who's that?
Halston. Look it up. He's dead. Back in the day, he became famous for designing Jackie Kennedy's hat.
All right, and then there you go.
It's a big name. See, this is where the age
Dale
difference.
Carter, stovetop stuffing, and Jackie Kennedy's hat.
Halston.
All right.
You have to look it up. It's a big name. I think
it's very important. Yes.
I think the brand is still there. They just did a special on him on something or other. Okay. I don't know. This is way off the rails, and I'm basically essentially killing time because we're having our big potluck here at the radio station at noon, and it's 11:15 as we're recording our podcast today. Well, so now I got to kill 45 minutes before I can eat. I got shit
to do, bro. Let's get
and I'm hungry. All right. Until next week. Happy Thanksgiving. This is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.